Máu trên ngón tay Clara Barrett không phải của cô, đó là máu của Thomas, em út 18 tuổi. Đang hồ ra từng cục máu đặc quánh vào chiếc khăn tay trắng. Clara quỳ bên cạnh, một tay đổ lưng cậu, tay kia run rẩy lau máu trên cằm em. Ánh nến bập bùng trong căn bếp tối, tạo những cái bóng nhảy múa trên tường gỗ thô. Thomas cố nói gì đó, môi mấp máy yếu ớt. Clara không nghe thấy. Cô chưa bao giờ nghe thấy gì kể từ năm 14 tuổi. Nhưng cô đọc được từ trên môi em, Clara. Đau quá. Cô lấy bình nước từ bàn, đưa lên môi cậu. Thomas uống từng ngụm nhỏ, mặt nhắm nghiền. Da cậu nóng rắn, mồ hôi thấm ướt cả áo sơ mi cotton. Đây là cơn hồ thứ 3 trong tuần này, mỗi lần một tệ hơn. Tiếng bước chân nặng nề từ phía sau khiến sàn nhà rung lên. Samuel. Clara không cần quay lại cũng biết. Cô cảm nhận được nhịp bước của từng người anh trong nhà này qua những rung động khác nhau. Samuel luôn giảm mạnh, như thể muốn dập tất cả thế giới dưới gót giày. Bàn tay thô ráp túm vải Clara, xoay cô lại. Samuel, 28 tuổi, mặt đỏ gầy vì rượu, miệng mấp máy những lời Clara biết là chửi bới. Cô nhìn thấy gân cổ anh ta nổi lên, nước bọt bắn ra khi quát. Anh ta chỉ vào Thomas rồi vào cửa, ý bảo đưa cậu về phòng. Clara lắc đầu, tay vẫn đỏ lưng em. Thomas cần ở gần bếp lửa, cần hơi ấm. Samuel đẩy Clara ra, mạnh đến mức cô ngã xuống sàn. Khuỷu tay đập mạnh vào gỗ, đau nhói lên cánh tay. Nhưng Clara không kêu. Cô đã quen với việc nuốt tiếng kêu vào trong, biến chúng thành im lặng. Michael xuất hiện ở cửa, 24 tuổi, gầy hơn Samuel nhưng cũng cao lớn. Anh ta nhìn cảnh tượng, Thomas gục trên ghế, Clara trên sàn, Samuel đứng giữa, rồi làm điều anh ta luôn làm, quay đi. Clara bò dậy, không để ý đến đầu. Cô vội lấy khăn ướt, lau mắt cho Thomas. Cậu em mở mắt, yếu ớt, và cô thấy điều khiển tim mình như ngừng đập. Trong mắt cậu có màu vàng nhạt, vàng da, dấu hiệu của... Samuel đổ thêm rượu từ bình sứ trên kế, cùng cái bình mà Thomas uống mới tới trước khi ngủ. Thuốc cho họ. Samuel nói. Clara chưa bao giờ thấy ai khác đụng vào bình đó. Một ý nghĩ lạnh lẽo len vào đầu cô. Không thể nào. Samuel có thể thô bạo, có thể tàn nhẫn, nhưng anh ta không thể. Clara đứng dậy, cố làm vẻ mặt bình thường. Cô lấy chổi, bắt đầu quét như mới tối. Samuel không để ý, đang loay hoay với mấy tờ giấy trên bàn. Michael đã biến mất ra ngoài. Khi quét gần kẽ, Clara liếc nhìn bình rượu. Có gì đó bám ở đáy bình, cặn trắng mờ, không tan hết. Cô biết rượu whisky không có cặn như vậy. Thomas hỏi lại. Lần này không có máu, nhưng người cậu run bấn bách. Clara đặt chổi xuống, định đến bên em, nhưng Samuel chặn lại. Anh ta chỉ vào cầu thang, lệnh cho cô lên phòng. Clara không còn lựa chọn. Cô vuốt tóc Thomas lần cuối rồi đi lên. Nhưng thay vì vào phòng, cô đứng im trong bóng tối ở đầu cầu thang, quan sát. Samuel chờ cho đến khi chắc chắn cô đã đi, rồi lấy từ túi áo một lỗ nhỏ, lọ thuốc màu nâu, loại bán ở hiệu thuốc. Anh ta nhớ 3 giọt vào bình rượu, lạc đều, laudanum. Clara nhận ra ngay, cô từng thấy mẹ dùng khi bị đau răng. Nhưng liệu Samuel cho vào? Quá nhiều cho một người khỏe mạnh. Huống chi Thomas đang yếu. Samuel rót một ly, mang đến cho Thomas. Clara thấy môi cậu mấp máy từ chối. Nhưng Samuel nằm cầm em, ép miệng mở ra. Rượu chảy vào họng Thomas. Một phần trào ra ngoài. Clara nghiến răng. Cô phải làm gì đó. Phải. Tiếng gõ cửa vang lên, mạnh và đều. 1, 2, 3 tiếng. Rồi im. Samuel cầu mày. Ai lại đến vào giờ này? Trang trại Barrett cách thị trấn 15 dặm. Không ai ghé qua sau khi mặt trời lan trừ khi có chuyện khấn. Tiếng gõ lại nữa, mạnh hơn. Cả căn nhà như rưng lên. Samuel đặt ly xuống, vội lấy khẩu Winchester treo tường. Michael chạy vào từ cửa sau, dao găm trong tay. Ngay cả Thomas cũng cố ngồi dậy, mặc dù tay run rẩy. Clara từ từ bước xuống cầu thang. Samuel ra hiệu bảo cô quay lại, nhưng cô không nghe lời. Có gì đó khác. Cô cảm thấy nhịp gõ cửa không phải ngẫu nhiên. Có quy luật. 1 dài, 2 ngắn. 1 dài, 2 ngắn. Mã Morse. Samuel tiến đến cửa, Súng lên đạn. Michael đứng sát tường bên cạnh cửa sổ. Clara bị kéo về phía góc bếp, nhưng cô vẫn nhìn thấy. Ai đó? Samuel hét. Mặc dù Clara chỉ thấy miệng anh ta động, không có trả lời. Samuel từ từ mở chốt. Súng chia thẳng, cánh cửa hé. Một người đàn ông đứng trong bóng tối. Cao, mặc áo khoác dài, mũ rộng vành che khuất mặt. Nhưng Clara thấy thứ khiến tim cô đập nhanh huy hiệu cài áo. Không phải cảnh sát, không phải. Người đàn ông giơ tay, trong tay là một phong bì. Anh ta bước vào ánh sáng, và Clara thấy rõ mặt, khoảng 40 tuổi, râu xốm, sẹo dài trên má trái. Samuel hạ súng một chút, vội lấy phong bì. Anh ta xé mổ, lôi ra một tờ giấy. Mặt Samuel mở to khi đọc, mặt tái mét. Người lạ nhìn thẳng qua Samuel, ánh mắt dừng lại ở Clara. Rồi, chậm rãi và rõ ràng, tay anh ta nâng lên, tạo thành những ký hiệu Clara không thấy ai dùng từ khi mẹ cô mất. Ngôn ngữ ký hiệu, anh ta đang nói. Con gái của Sarah Coleman, Clara Đông Cung. Sarah Coleman là tên thời con gái của mẹ cô, không ai biết tên đó. Mẹ đã chết 6 năm rồi, chôn cất trong nghĩa trang không tên cùng 30 người khác chết vì dịch tả. Tay người lạ tiếp tục ký hiệu, mẹ cô còn sống. Samuel quay lại nhìn Clara, tờ giấy rơi xuống sàn. Clara thấy thoáng qua một tấm ảnh cũ, mờ nhạt. Người phụ nữ trong ảnh có mái tóc như Clara, có đôi mắt như Clara, và người phụ nữ đó đang đứng cạnh Samuel, tay đặt trên vai anh ta, cười rạng rỡ. Phía dưới anh, một dòng chữ viết nguệch ngoạc bằng mức độ Samuel Barrett, kẻ sát nhân, $50,000 cho kẻ bắt sống. Before we continue, please leave a like and subscribe. Let me know which city you're watching from. Now, let's get back to the story. Samuel cúi xuống, nhấc tờ giấy. Tay anh run nhẹ. Clara thấy cơ hàm anh giật. Răng nghiến chặt. Mồ hôi bắt đầu thấm qua cổ áo dù căn bếp lạnh. Người lạ đứng yên, tay vẫn để trong túi áo khoác. Clara nhận ra chi tiết nhỏ, ngón trỏ phải anh ta bị cụt nửa đầu, vết sẹo cũ. Cái này. Samuel nuốt nước bọt. Là trò đùa gì? Người đàn ông không trả lời. Thay vào đó, anh ta lấy từ túi trong một tấm thiệp nhỏ, đưa thẳng cho Clara, không phải Samuel. Clara bước tới. Samuel vươn tay chặn, nhưng người lạ đã di chuyển. Không nhanh, chỉ đủ để đứng giữa hai anh em. Thiếp được đặt vào tay Clara. Chữ viết của mẹ. Clara nhận ra ngay, nét chữ nghiêng về bên phải. Chữ A luôn có đuôi cống đặc biệt. Clara con yêu, mẹ sống, ở Sacramento, đời con. Ngón tay Clara siết chặt tấm thiệp. Giấy củng cố vào da, để lại vết đỏ. Thomas hò phía sau, nhưng lần này không có ai để ý. Michael dịch từ cửa sổ, dao vẫn trong tay. Clara cảm thấy rung động của bước chân anh qua ván sàn, nhẹ hơn Samuel, cẩn thận hơn. Ông là ai? Samuel hỏi. Giọng khàn. Jack Thornton, người đàn ông nói, nhưng Clara không thể đọc môi vì anh quay sang Samuel. Thợ săn tiền thưởng. Samuel lùi một bước, vải đập vào từ bát, khiến địa sử kêu lạnh canh. Jack lấy ra thêm một tờ giấy. Lần này là văn bản chính thức, có đóng dấu đồ. Anh ta đặt lên bàn, đẩy về phía Samuel. Lệnh bắt giữ, tội danh đầu độc William Barrett, nạn nhân chết cách đây 7 năm. William Barrett, cha của Clara. Clara nhìn Samuel. Anh đang lắc đầu, miệng mấp máy, nhưng cô thấy cách mắt anh liếc về phía bình rượu trên ké. Cái bình có cần trắng. Thomas, cần trắng trong rượu của Thomas. Clara quay nhanh về phía em trai. Cậu đã ngủ thiếp trên ghế, thở nặng nề, màu vàng trong mắt cậu. Arsenic, độc chuột. Cùng thứ từng giết cha cô. Tay Clara với vẻ phía con dao làm bếp trên bàn, ngón tay chạm phải cán gỗ lạnh. Nhưng Jack đã nhìn thấy, lắc đầu gần như không thể nhận ra. Anh ta ký hiệu nhanh, chỉ Clara thấy. Chưa, đổi cái gì? Tiếng vó ngựa từ xa vọng lại qua sàn gỗ. Không phải một con, nhiều con, rất nhiều. Rung động của vó ngựa lan qua ván sàn như nhịp trống. Clara đem 5, có thể 6 con, đang phi nước đại. Samuel đẩy Jack sang bên, chạy đến cửa sổ. Anh kéo rèm vải bao bốt, nhìn ra ngoài. Ánh trăng chiếu qua khe hở, vạch một vết trắng ngang mặt anh. Clara thấy động từ anh giãn ra. Briggs, Samuel nói, quay lại. Mồ hôi chảy dài từ thái dương xuống má. Walter Briggs, ông già 62 tuổi, mà Samuel nỡ tiền cờ bạc. Clara biết cái tên đó, từng nghe Samuel và Michael bàn tán khi tưởng cô không hiểu. Jack rút khẩu Colt từ bảo dạ thắt lưng, kiểm tra băng đạn, sau đó đẩy trở lại. Anh không vội vàng. Ngón tay quýt quẹt ngang thân súng như đang đem vết xước. Michael lui về phía cầu thang, bàn chân anh giảm phải ván bị mục, kêu cót két. Samuel quát gì đó, Michael đứng lại. Clara nhìn Thomas. Em vẫn ngủ, đầu gục sang bên, bốt trắng động ở khóe môi, ngực cậu phập phồng không đều. Laudanum trong rượu bắt đầu ngầm. Tiếng ngựa dừng lại trước hiên. Giày định dậm lên bậc gỗ, nặng nề, chậm rãi. Một người, những người khác ở lại với ngựa. Cửa rừng lên dưới nắm đấm nặng nề. Barrett, giống khàn đặc, như núi lửa. Mở cửa, ta biết ngươi ở trong. Samuel nhìn Jack. Jack nhìn Clara. Clara nhìn con dao bếp vẫn nằm trên bàn. Cách cô 2 bước. Ngươi nọ ta $500, Briggs nói qua cửa. Hôm nay là hạn chót. Samuel lau mồ hôi bằng ống tay áo. Tôi cần thêm thời gian. Không còn thời gian. Mở cửa hoặc bọn ta đốt luôn cả nhà. Jack bước đến cửa. Samuel giơ súng ngăn lại. Nhưng Jack không để ý. Anh mở chốt, kéo cửa. Walter Briggs đứng đó, thấp hơn Clara tưởng. Bùng phè, râu bạc vàng vì thuốc lá. Sau lưng ông là 5 tay súng. Mọi người cầm một khẩu Winchester. Briggs nhìn thấy Jack, nheo mắt. Ông là ai? Khách qua đường. Jack nói. Ngựa bị tách. Briggs nhờ nước bọt nâu thuốc lá xuống sàn. Nước bọt bắn tung tóe, vài giọt dính vào váy Clara. Mùi thuốc lá chua loét xốc lên mũi. Vậy thì cút đi, đây là chuyện riêng. Jack không nhúc nhích. Tôi trả tiền cho chỗ ngủ qua đêm. Briggs cười, hàm răng vàng khè lóe lánh trong ánh nến. Ông bước vào, giày định cào sức sàn gỗ. Một tay súng theo sau, trẻ, có thể 18. Súng chia vào Jack. Clara thấy Samuel lùi sát tường. Tay anh vẫn cầm Winchester nhưng không giơ lên. Michael đứng im như tường ở cầu thang. $500, Briggs nói, nhìn Samuel. Hoặc, ông quay sang Clara. Con gái ngươi. Tay Clara siết chặt mép bàn. Gấu thô cửa vào lòng bàn tay. Cô ta không biết nói. Samuel nói nhanh. Cầm điếc bẩm sinh. Tao không cần nó nói. Briggs tiến lại gần Clara. Mùi rượu whisky và thuốc lá bộc ra từ người ông như sương mù. Chỉ cần nó biết nấu ăn và đẻ con. Jack đi chuyển, đúng chang giữa Briggs và Clara. Không nói gì, chỉ đứng đó. Briggs cười khẩy. Khách qua đường phải không? Tay súng trẻ giơ Winchester lên, chia vào đầu Jack. Clara thấy ngón tay cậu ta trên cò súng, run nhẹ. Tôi có một đề nghị, Jack nói. Tay vẫn thõng xuôi hai bên. Tốt hơn $500. Briggs khắc nhơ lần nữa. Nói. Jack lấy từ túi áo to chắc bạc Samuel, đưa cho Briggs. 50.000 tiền thưởng, chia đôi nếu ông giúp tôi đưa hắn về sống. Mặt Briggs mở to. Ông giật tờ giấy, đọc nhanh, môi mấp máy khi đọc số tiền. Samuel lao tới, nhưng tay súng trẻ quay súng lại. Bảng sàn trước chân anh. Gố bảng tùng, mảnh vụn bay vào mặt Samuel. Anh ngã xuống, máu chảy từ má trái. Tiếng súng làm Thomas giật mình tỉnh. Cậu họ dữ dội. Máu phun ra khắp áo. Clara chạy đến bên em, quỳ xuống, đổ đầu cầu. 50.000, Briggs lặp lại. Giọng mơ màng. Chia đôi là 25.000. 25.000, Jack xác nhận. Đủ mua cả một quan. Michael từ cầu thang tiến xuống, dạo trong tay. Nhưng anh không nhìn Samuel hay Briggs. Anh nhìn Clara. Anh ký hiệu. Clumsy, không thành thạo. Nhưng Clara hiểu. Đi, bây giờ. Clara lắc đầu, ôm chặt Thomas. Cậu em run rẩy trong vòng tay cô. Máu nóng thầm qua váy. Michael ký hiểu lại. Tôi lo cho Thomas. Em đi. Được. Briggs nói với Jack. Thỏa thuận. Nhưng con gái vẫn là của tao. Jack lắc đầu. Cô ấy đi với tôi. Làm nhân chứng cho phiên tòa. Nhân chứng? Briggs cười lớn. Con câm điếc làm sao? Clara đứng dậy. Máu Thomas dính đầy tay cô, nhỏ giọt xuống sàn. Cô bước đến bàn, lấy miệng thân tụ họp diêm, viết lên mặt bàn gỗ, chú to và rõ, tôi không điếc. Căn phòng im lặng, ngay cả Thomas cũng ngừng hổ. Clara viết tiếp, tôi nghe thấy tất cả, tôi sẽ làm chứng. Briggs nhìn chứ, mặt tái mét. Samuel cố bò dậy, nhưng tay súng giam chân lên lưng anh. Jack lấy từ túi trong một phong bì khác, mở ra, rải xuống bàn. Anh, hàng chục tấm ảnh. Clara nhìn thấy mặt mẹ trong mỗi tấm. Sarah Coleman đứng trước một tòa nhà lớn. Tấm biển phía sau bệnh viện Sacramento cho người câm điếc. Mẹ cô mỉm cười trong anh, bao quanh bụi trẻ em. Tất cả đang ký hiệu. Mẹ cô sống. Jack nói với Clara, dù cô đã biết, bà ấy thuê tôi tìm cô và bằng chứng để kết tội Samuel. Clara nhìn xuống Thomas. Em trai cô thở yếu ớt, môi đã chuyển xanh. Cô nhìn Michael, người anh duy nhất từng tỏ ra tử tế, dù im lặng. Anh gật đầu, ký hiệu lần cuối. Đi, cứu chính mình. Clara lấy ba lọ laudanum tự thuộc, đổ hết vào bình nước sạch. Trộn với mật ong và gừng nghiện, công thức mẹ dạy cho thuốc họ. Viết liều lượng bằng thần lên giấy gói. 1 muỗng, 3 lần mỗi ngày. Không thêm rượu. Cô đặt bình thuốc vào tay Michael. Anh nắm chặt, gật đầu. Jack lấy áo khoác treo tường, khoác lên vai Clara. Chúng ta đi. Khoan. Briggs nói. Tao chưa đồng ý. Tiếng gõ cửa vang lên. Không phải gõ. Đập. Mạnh đến mức băng lệ rung lên. Một giọng nữ vang qua cửa. Trong và lạnh. Clara. Con ở trong đó phải không? Clara đông cứng. Giọng nói đó. Không thể nào. Cô biết giọng nói đó, dù 6 năm không nghe. Mẹ. Cửa mở từ từ, người phụ nữ bước vào, tóc đen xám, khuôn mặt gầy hộc hác, váy đen phủ bụi đường. Clara nhìn chằm chằm vào đôi mắt xanh nhạt, cùng màu với mặt mình. Sarah Coleman, mẹ cô. Sống. Người phụ nữ nhìn quanh căn bếp. Samuel trên sàn với vết máu trên má. Thomas gục trên ghế. Briggs và tay súng chia Winchester. Mặt bà dừng lại ở Clara. Con gái ta, bà nói, nhưng không tiền lại. Lớn quá rồi. Clara không thể cử động. 6 năm. 6 năm nghĩ mẹ đã chết. 6 năm một mình với những người anh trai điên loạn này. Jack bước sang bên. Mrs. Coleman, tôi bảo bà đòi ở. Tôi đợi đủ lâu rồi. Sarah nhìn Samuel. Anh đầu độc chồng tôi. Giờ đang đầu độc con trai mình. Samuel lắc đầu dữ dội. Miệng mấp máy. Nhưng Sarah không nhìn anh nữa. Bà quỳ xuống bên Thomas, đặt tay lên trán cậu. Sốt cao, mạch yếu. Bà mở mắt cậu, nhìn vào tròng vàng. Ngộ độc arsenic mãn tính, dòng William. Clara thay vai, Michael giật. Anh không biết. Anh ký hiệu vụng về thật sao? Sarah đứng dậy, nhìn Michael. Anh biết ký hiệu. Clara dậy. Michael nói. Giọng khàn. Lén lút. Samuel không biết. Briggs hồ khàn. Cái quái gì đang xảy ra ở đây? Jack rút súng, chia vào Briggs. Ông và người của ông ra ngoài. Ngay. 25.000. Không có thỏa thuận nào. Jack lạc cò súng. Đi. Tay súng trẻ lùi về phía cửa. Briggs nhìn Clara, rồi Sarah, rồi Samuel. Chuyện này chưa xong. Ông gầm gừ, rồi ra hiệu cho người của mình. Họ rời đi. Tiếng ngựa xa dần trong đêm. Sarah lấy từ túi váy một lỗ nhỏ. Thuốc giải. Cần cho cậu ấy uống ngay. Michael giật lọ thuốc, chạy đến Thomas. Anh nâng đầu em, nhờ thuốc vào miệng. Thomas sắc, họ, nhưng nuốt được. Cần thời gian, Sarah nói. Và cần rời khỏi đây. Samuel có thể. Samuel bò dậy, với lấy súng rơi trên sàn. Jack đập vào cổ tay anh, xương kêu răng rắc. Samuel la hét, ôm tay. Trói hắn lại. Jack nói với Michael. Michael do dự. Clara bước tới, lấy cuốn dây thừng từ móc tường, đưa cho Michael. Anh nhìn cô, nhìn Samuel đang quằn quại, rồi bắt đầu trói. Sarah tiến lại gần Clara, giơ tay như muốn chạm vào má con nhưng dừng lại. Con ghét mẹ, bà nói. Không phải câu hỏi, Clara lắc đầu, rồi gật, rồi lạc lại. Cô không biết. Mẹ phải đi, Sarah nói. Samuel đã bắt đầu đầu độc cha con. Mẹ phát hiện ra. Anh ta dọa giết con nếu mẹ nói ra, nên mẹ giả chết, bỏ đi. Hy vọng anh ta sẽ để yên cho con. Clara ký hiệu. Sao mẹ không đưa con đi cùng? Sarah hiểu. Mặt bà đổ hoe. Samuel canh chừng con mọi lúc. Nếu cả hai biến mất, anh ta sẽ săn lùng. Nhưng nếu mẹ chết, con sẽ an toàn. Mẹ nghĩ vậy. Jack kiểm tra dây trói Samuel. Chúng ta cần đi. Briggs sẽ quay lại với thêm người. Michael B. Thomas. Cậu vẫn bất tỉnh nhưng thở đều hơn. Tôi đi cùng. Anh nói. Không. Sarah nói. Ai đó phải ở lại trong Samuel. Báo cho cảnh sát. Michael lắc đầu. Samuel là anh tôi. Tôi không. Thì đừng. Sarah nhìn thẳng vào mắt anh. Nhưng đừng để anh ta đi theo chúng tôi. Clara viết bằng thần lên tường. Thomas sẽ sống chứ? Nếu chúng ta nhanh. Sarah trả lời. Có một bác sĩ ở Fort Laramie. Bác sĩ Myers. Ông ấy giỏi về ngộ độc. Jack mở cửa, kiểm tra bên ngoài. 2 xe ngựa ở chuồng. Chúng ta lấy cả hai. Michael đặt Thomas xuống ghế dài. Anh lấy chăn quấn quanh người em. Clara thấy tay anh run khi vuốt tóc Thomas. Tôi xin lỗi. Michael ký hiệu với Clara. Tôi biết Samuel tàn nhẫn. Không biết anh ta. Như vậy. Clara nắm tay Michael. Anh giật mình. Cô chưa bao giờ tự nguyện chạm vào anh. Cô viết bằng ngón tay vào lòng bàn tay anh. Cảm ơn. Sarah và Jack khiêng Thomas ra xe. Clara thu thập vài món đồ. Váy, khăn, lộ mực mè để lại. Trong ngăn kéo bàn, cô tìm thấy cuốn sổ cũ của mẹ. Giấu dưới đáy là một tấm ảnh. Gia đình 4 người. Chụp 10 năm trước khi Thomas sinh. Trước khi mọi thứ sụp đổ. Samuel rên rỉ từ sàn nhà. Hàm anh sưng vù. Máu khô trên má. Anh nhìn Clara, miệng mấp máy. Clara đọc được. Xin lỗi. Cô quay đi. Ngoài sân, Jack đã thắng 2 xe. Sarah đặt Thomas nằm trong xe thứ nhất, đầu gối lên chân bà. Clara leo lên ngồi cạnh mẹ. Fort Laramie, Jack nói. 2 ngày đường nếu không nghỉ. Anh phóng ngựa, xe lắc lư, bánh xe nghiền trên đường đất. Clara nắm tay Thomas, lạnh nhưng vẫn có mạch. Họ đi được nửa dặm thì Clara nghe thấy, không, cảm thấy tiếng hát, rung động nhỏ trong không khí. Sarah đang hát cho Thomas. Bài hát ru Clara nhớ từ thời thơ ấu. Clara mở miệng, không có âm thanh nào thoát ra. Cổ họng cô khô khốc, dây thanh âm như dính lại sau 6 năm im lặng. Nhưng cô thu lại, một hơi thở run rẩy, rồi một âm thanh nhỏ, không phải từ, chỉ là một tiếng. Khẽ. Sarah ngừng hát, nhìn Clara với ánh mắt kinh ngạc. Clara chạm vào cổ họng mình, rung động. Sau 6 năm, cô cảm thấy rung động của chính giọng mình. Jack quạt rồi thúc ngựa nhanh hơn. Phía sau, một đốm lửa lẻ lói trong đêm. Trang trại Barrett. Michael đã đốt chuồng ngựa, tín hiệu cho cảnh sát ở thị trấn. Clara nhìn Thomas. Em vẫn bất tỉnh, nhưng mi mắt cậu giật giật. Cậu đang mơ. Họ đi qua suối cạn, bánh xe va vào đá. Clara ngã vào người mẹ. Sarah ôm con, siết chặt như sợ Clara biến mất. Mẹ xin lỗi. Sarah thì thầm vào tóc con. Mẹ xin lỗi đã bỏ con lại. Clara muốn nói không sao, muốn nói mẹ làm điều mẹ nghĩ là tốt nhất, nhưng cổ họng cô vẫn không tạo thành lời. Trăng lần sau núi. Bóng tối bao phủ con đường. Jack thắp đèn dầu treo hai bên xe. Ánh sáng vàng nhảy múa theo nhịp xe lác. Họ đi qua một trang trại hoang. Gà rừng bay vọt lên từ bụi rậm, khiến ngựa hí panic. Jack kéo dây cương, cổ trấn an. Con ngựa bên trái, con ngựa cái màu nâu, vẫn nhảy chồm, mặt trốn trắng. Clara trượt xuống xe. Sarah với tay kéo lại nhưng Clara đã xuống đất. Cô tiến đến con ngựa, đặt tay lên mõm nó. Con ngựa thở phì phò, hơi nóng phả vào mặt Clara. Cô mở miệng, cố gắng tạo âm thanh êm dịu. Chỉ có hơi thở khò khè thoát ra. Cô thu lại. Lần này, một âm thanh nhỏ hình thành. Không phải lối, một giai điệu. Bài hát ru mẹ vừa hát. Con ngựa ngừng nhảy, tai dựng lên, nghe ngóng. Clara tiếp tục, cảm thấy rung động trong cổ họng lan xuống ngực. Jack nhìn cô kinh ngạc. Cô đang hát. Clara gật. Đúng, cô đang hát. Không có lỗi, chỉ giai điệu. Nhưng đó là giọng cô. Sau 6 năm, giọng cô, con ngựa bình tĩnh hoàn toàn. Cô vuốt bom nó, vẫn bài hát. Sarah khóc thầm trên xe. Thomas cử động, mí mắt hé mở. Nước, cậu thì thào. Clara vội lấy bình da từ xe, đưa lên môi em. Thomas uống từng ngụm nhỏ. Clara, cậu nhìn cô, mắt còn đực. Chị, hát à. Clara gạt. Nước mắt chảy xuống má nhưng cô không lau. Jack thúc ngựa tiếp tục. Còn 10 dặm đến trạm nghỉ đầu tiên. Chúng ta cần nước sạch và thuốc. Họ vượt qua đồi cổ khô. Gió thổi mạnh, mang theo mùi cháy từ xa. Trang trại Barrett vẫn cháy. Clara tự hỏi Michael có kịp thoát không? Samuel có thoát trói không? Thomas lại thiếp đi. Mạch cậu yếu nhưng đều. Sarah kiểm tra động tử, vẫn còn phản ứng với ánh sáng. Dấu hiệu tốt. Trầm nghĩ hiện ra, một căn nhà gỗ nhỏ với đèn vẫn sáng. Jack đổ xe trước hiên. Một người đàn ông già bước ra, súng trong tay. Ai đó? Jack Thornton, Jack nói. Có người bệnh, cần bác sĩ. Ông già hạ súng. Không có bác sĩ ở đây. Nhưng vợ tôi từng là y tá chiến trường. Vào đi. Họ khiêng Thomas vào, căn phòng ấm, sạch sẽ. Người phụ nữ tóc bạc xuất hiện từ phòng trong, nhìn Thomas rồi gật đầu. Đặt cậu ấy xuống đây. Bà chỉ chiếc ghế dài. Martha, lấy nước nóng. Bà bảo cô gái trẻ, có lẽ con gái bà. Martha chạy đi. Clara nhận thấy cô gái không nghe lệnh. Cô nhìn thấy mẹ ký hiệu. Martha điếc. Cô gái trở lại với chậu nước, khăn sạch. Nhìn thấy Clara, cô dừng lại. Chào. Martha ký hiệu. Chị cũng điếc. Clara lắc đầu. Rồi gật. Rồi ký hiệu. Không. Có. Tôi không biết nữa. Martha mỉm cười. Không sao. Đôi khi chúng ta ở giữa hai thế giới. Người phụ nữ già kiểm tra Thomas. Lắng nghe tim. Kiểm tra phản xạ. Ngộ độc. Bà nói. Nhưng đang hồi phục. Cần nghỉ ngơi và nước sạch. Sarah gục xuống ghế. Thở phào. Jack nói chuyện với ông già về đường đến Fort Laramie. Clara đứng cạnh Martha. Cô gái ký hiệu chỉ muốn học nói. Clara suy nghĩ. 6 năm im lặng. 6 năm an toàn trong thinh lặng. Nhưng cô vừa hát cho con ngựa, vừa tạo ra âm thanh. Cô gật đầu. Martha dẫn cô đến gương, đặt tay Clara lên cổ họng mình. Cảm nhận rung động. Cô ký hiệu. Bắt đầu với âm dễ nhất. Clara nhìn vào gương. Mở miệng. Martha mở miệng. Làm mẫu. À! Martha phát âm. Cổ họng rung. Clara thụ. Hơi thở thoát ra. Không có âm. Cô thu lại. Một chút rung động. Lần thứ 3. Âm thanh hình thành. Khàn khàn. Yếu ớt. Nhưng rõ ràng. À! Martha vỗ tay. Sarah quay lại nhìn. Jack và ông già ngừng nói chuyện. Thomas mở mắt. Clara, cậu thì thầm. Chị. Nói à. Clara quỳ xuống bên em, đặt tay cậu lên cổ họng mình. Cô mở miệng, tập trung toàn bộ sức lực. Thơ, âm thanh vô. Cô nuốt nước bọt, thu lại. Thomas chờ đợi. Mọi người chờ đợi. Thomas. Clara nói. Khàn. Lạc giống, nhưng rõ ràng. Tên em trai cô. Lời đầu tiên sau 6 năm. Thomas khóc. Clara chưa bao giờ thấy em khóc, ngay cả khi Samuel đánh. Martha ký hiệu. Từ đầu tiên luôn khó nhất, từ đây sẽ dễ hơn. Clara nghi ngờ. Nhưng cô nhìn mẹ. Sarah mỉm cười qua nước mắt. Nhìn Jack. Anh gật đầu khích lệ. Nhìn Thomas. Em đang cố ngồi dậy. Muốn ôm chị. Cô có thể làm được. Không phải vì họ muốn cô nói. Vì cô muốn nói. Cô mở miệng để thu lại. Nhưng Martha giơ tay ngăn lại. Nhìn ra cửa sổ. Ánh lửa đuốc. Nhiều ánh lửa đuốc. Đang tiến đến trạm nghỉ. Briggs đã tìm thấy họ. Jack grabbed the Winchester from beside the door. The old man, Clara hadn't caught his name, blew out the oil lamp. Darkness swallowed the room. Only moonlight through flour sack curtains remained. Martha pressed herself against the wall. Her mother signed something quick. Clara caught cellar and quiet. Martha shook her head, pointed at Thomas. 10 riders, Jack said from the window. Maybe 12. Clara felt the floorboards vibrate, horses approaching fast. She crawled to Thomas, pressed her palm against his chest, heartbeat weak but steady, his skin still clammy from fever. Sarah pulled a derringer from her boot. 2 shots. Clara stared. Her mother had never carried weapons before. They want me, Sarah signed to Clara. Not you. Clara's throat constricted. She forced air through no. The word came out as a rasp, but Sarah heard. Her hand froze on the derringer. The old man's wife, Mrs. Henderson, Martha had signed, dragged a rug aside. Trapdoor. Root cellar. She pointed at Thomas, then down. Jack and the old man lifted Thomas. His head lolled back, unconscious again. They lowered him through the opening. Mrs. Henderson climbed down after. Clara, go. Sarah signed. Clara shook her head. Martha tugged her sleeve, pointing at the cellar. The horses were close now, dust kicked up outside, visible in moonbeams. They don't know about Martha, Jack said quickly. Or Mrs. Henderson. Clara, if you stay hidden. The door exploded inward. Not kicked, blown apart. Shotgun blast. Wood splinters sprayed across the room. One caught Clara's cheek. Hot sting and immediate blood. Briggs stood in the doorway, shotgun smoking. 5 men behind him. Not the same ones from earlier. These wore badges, deputies. Well now, Briggs said, scanning the room. Jack Thornton, kidnapping a poor mute girl. Jack's Winchester stayed low. Clara saw why. 3 deputies had rifles trained on him. And Mrs. Sarah Coleman. Briggs tipped his hat mockingly at Sarah. Or, should I say, Mrs. William Barrett faking your death is fraud in this county. Sarah stood slowly, derringer hidden in her skirt folds. You have no authority here. Got all the authority I need. Briggs pulled a paper from his vest. Judge Brennan signed it this morning. Arrest warrant for Jack Thornton, kidnapping and assault. Another for you, fraud and abandonment. The old man stepped forward. This is my property. A deputy's rifle butt cracked against his skull. He dropped. Blood pooled from his scalp onto the pine boards. Martha's mouth opened in a silent scream. Clara started toward the old man, but Briggs grabbed her hair, yanked her back, or her scalp burned. Tears sprang involuntarily. There she is. Briggs breathed into her ear. Tobacco and rot. My property. Samuel signed the papers before your friend here attacked him. Clara's hands moved to sign, but Briggs twisted her hair harder. None of that finger-waggling. Jack set his rifle on the floor, hands raising. Let's discuss this. Nothing to discuss. Briggs pushed Clara toward one of the deputies. Take her to the wagon. The deputy, young, maybe 20, grabbed Clara's arm. His fingers dug into the same bruises Michael had left. Clara bit her tongue to keep from crying out. Sarah stepped forward. She's my daughter. She's nobody's nothing, Briggs said. Mute dummy can't even say her own name. Clara's throat burned. Not from pain, from rage. She opened her mouth. My... The sound scraped out. Everyone turned. Name. Each letter fought through damaged vocal cords. Is... Her throat felt like swallowing glass. Clara. Clear. Loud. The deputy's grip loosened in shock. Briggs backhanded her. Her head snapped sideways, copper flooding her mouth. But she stayed upright, blood dripping from her split lip. Still mine, Briggs said. Speaking don't change signed papers. Sarah pulled the derringer. 2 shots. One caught a deputy in the shoulder, spinning him. The second went wide, shattering the window. Chaos. Jack dove for his rifle. The deputies scattered. The wounded one screamed, clutching his shoulder. Briggs dragged Clara outside, arm around her throat. She couldn't breathe. Black spots danced in her vision. Her fingers clawed at his arm, but he was too strong. Everyone stop, Briggs shouted, or I snap her neck. The fighting ceased. Jack stood in the doorway, rifle aimed but useless. Sarah beside him, derringer empty. Martha appeared from nowhere, silent as her deafness. The iron skillet from the kitchen connected with Briggs's knee, the crack audible even to Clara. Briggs dropped, releasing Clara. She gasped. air flooding back. Martha grabbed her hand, pulled her toward the side of the house. Gunfire erupted behind them. Clara felt the bullets hit the wall, thuds that sent sawdust flying. Martha yanked her around the corner. The root cellar's outside entrance. Martha hauled open the wooden doors. Mrs. Henderson's face appeared, Thomas visible behind her on a pile of grain sacks. They tumbled down the ladder. Martha slammed the doors above them. Darkness complete except for a single candle Mrs. Henderson held. Thomas's eyes were open, focused. "Clara," he whispered. "You talked." She nodded, then realized he couldn't see in the dimness. "Yes." The word hurt but came. Gunfire continued above. Boots thundered across the floor. Someone screamed. Clara couldn't tell who. Mrs. Henderson pressed cloth against the old man's head wound. He was conscious, but dazed, eyes unfocused. Martha signed to her mother, too fast for Clara to follow. "Sheriff's coming," Mrs. Henderson translated for Clara. "My husband lit the signal fire when riders approached. Town's only 3 miles. But 3 miles meant 20 minutes at least. The gunfire was dying down. Either someone won or everyone was dead." Thomas tried to sit up. Clara pushed him back down. His fever had broken. Skin cool now. Sweating clean instead of sick. "Samuel?" Thomas asked. Clara didn't know how to answer, how to explain their brother was a murderer. The cellar doors rattled, someone trying to open them from outside. Martha grabbed a pitchfork, stood ready. "Clara." Jack's voice. "It's me." Martha looked at Clara. Clara hesitated. Could be a trick. Briggs forcing him? "Your mother's hurt," Jack added, "but alive." Clara scrambled up the ladder. Martha helped her lift the bar. Jack's face appeared, blood running from a gash on his forehead. They climbed out. 2 deputies down in the dirt, not moving. Another sitting against the wall, pressing his shirt to the shoulder wound. Briggs nowhere visible. Sarah lay on the porch, holding her side. Blood seeped between her fingers. Not arterial, dark red, steady flow. But enough. Clara dropped beside her. Sarah's eyes fluttered open. "My brave girl," she whispered. "You spoke." "Don't talk," Clara managed, pressing her hands over Sarah's. Jack appeared with bandages from inside. "Briggs ran. Took 2 men, other 3 down." Sarah coughed. Blood spotted her lips. The bullet had gone deeper than it looked. "Listen." Sarah gripped Clara's wrist. "In my bag. Journal. Everything's there." "Later," Clara said. But Sarah shook her head. "Now. Before." Another cough. More blood. Jack retrieved a leather satchel from the wagon. Clara recognized it. The same one Sarah carried when she died 6 years ago. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, a journal. Clara opened it. Her mother's handwriting, dated 7 years ago. "William grows weaker. Samuel brings him whiskey each night. William thinks it helps him sleep. I tested it. Arsenic. Enough to kill slowly. Looked like consumption." Clara flipped pages. Entry after entry documenting Samuel's poisoning. Sarah's growing fear. Her attempts to warn William. He doesn't believe me. Says I'm hysterical. Samuel is his son. Blood is blood. Then, the night William died, I confronted Samuel. He laughed. Said no one would believe a woman over a man. Said if I told anyone, Clara would have an accident, my baby girl. I believe him. The next entry, different ink. I'm dead now. Officially. Cholera outbreak was perfect cover. Dr. Morrison helped. He suspected Samuel too, but had no proof. I'm going to California. Building something. When Clara is old enough, I'll send for her. When she can choose. Clara looked up from the journal. Sarah's breathing was shallow. Mrs. Henderson worked on the wound, packing it with clean cloth. Why didn't you come back? Clara forced out. Throat raw. Sarah's eyes filled with tears. I did. 3 times. Watched from the hills. You seemed adjusted, quiet, but safe. I thought, if Samuel believed you were broken, he'd leave you alone. He was poisoning Thomas. I know. That's why I hired Jack. To get evidence. Save you both. Thomas's voice from the cellar stairs. Can I come up? Jack helped him climb out. Thomas swayed but stood on his own. He looked at Sarah, at the blood. You're our mother, he said. Not a question. Sarah nodded. Samuel told us you abandoned us. Ran off with a traveling preacher. Samuel lied about many things, Sarah said. Hoofbeats in the distance. Many horses. Jack grabbed his rifle, but then relaxed. Sheriff Thompson, I see the badges. 6 men rode up, stars glinting in moonlight. The sheriff, gray-bearded and competent-looking, surveyed the scene. Jack. He nodded. Got your message about the Barrett situation. Briggs? Jack asked. Passed him heading north. Let him go. Figured you had enough to handle. The sheriff dismounted. These deputies of his, illegal badges, Jack said. Briggs appointed them himself. The sheriff nodded to his men. They began securing the wounded deputies. Clara felt Sarah's hand go slack. Mother, Sarah's eyes had closed, still breathing but barely. Mrs. Henderson looked up, shook her head slightly. She needs a doctor, Clara said, clearer this time. Now. Doc Myers is a day's ride, the sheriff said. Fort Laramie. Then we go now. Clara stood. Her voice cracked but held. Jack, help me. They lifted Sarah into the wagon, carefully as possible. Thomas climbed in beside them, still weak but determined. Martha brought blankets, water, medical supplies her mother had gathered. I'll drive, Jack said. No. Clara took the reins. You ride ahead. Tell Dr. Myers to be ready. Jack hesitated, then nodded. He mounted his horse, spurred it hard toward Fort Laramie. Clara snapped the reins. The horses lurched forward. Sarah moaned but didn't wake. Thomas held her steady as the wagon bounced over ruts. Martha ran alongside briefly, signing, "Good luck." Clara nodded thanks, focused on the road. The moon was setting, darkness thickening. She drove by feel and instinct, pushing the horses as fast as she dared. Sarah stirred. Clara, I'm here. The journal. There's more. About you. Tell me later. No. Sarah's voice was fading. Page 47. Thomas found the page, held it near the wagon's lantern. His face went pale. What? Clara asked, though she dreaded the answer. Thomas read aloud. Clara isn't mute from trauma. The fever damaged her vocal cords when she was 14, but Dr. Morrison believes they could heal. With time, with practice, if she wanted to speak again. Clara's hands tightened on the reins. You mean? I could have helped you, Sarah whispered. Stayed. Found treatment. But I ran. Let you believe. Let everyone believe. The wagon hit a deep rut. Sarah cried out, fresh blood soaking through bandages. Her breathing went ragged. Mother, hold on. Sarah's hand found Clara's. The real truth. Samuel isn't your brother. Clara nearly dropped the reins. What? William's first wife. Samuel's mother. She lived. Ran off. William lied. Said she died. Married me. Samuel knows. Always knew. That's why. Sarah's eyes rolled back. Her hand went limp. Mother. Clara transferred the reins to one hand, shook Sarah with the other. No response. Thomas checked for pulse. It's there. Barely. Fort Laramie's lights appeared in the distance. Still miles to go. The horses were lathering, foam at their mouths. Clara stood in the driver's seat, tried to yell, "Help!" What came out was a strangled croak. She tried again, "Help!" Louder, but not enough. No one would hear from this distance. Thomas stood beside her, cupped his hands around his mouth, and screamed, "Doctor! We need a doctor!" His voice, made powerful by years of Samuel's abuse and his own suffering, carried across the plains. Lights began moving in the fort. Someone had heard, but Sarah's breathing had stopped. Clara pressed her ear to Sarah's chest. Nothing. Then, a flutter. Barely there. "Thomas, drive." She pushed the reins into his hands. Clara tilted Sarah's head back, pinched her nose. Her own breath still came ragged from her damaged throat, but she forced air into her mother's lungs, tasted blood from Sarah's mouth. Once, twice, Sarah's chest didn't rise. Clara repositioned, tried again. The wagon bounced over stones. Sarah's body shifted, dead weight. No, not dead. Not yet. Men on horseback approached from the fort, Jack leading them, an older man with a medical bag bouncing against his saddle. "Dr. Myers," Jack shouted. "She's been shot." The doctor didn't wait for the wagon to stop. He swung from his moving horse onto the wagon bed. His fingers found Sarah's neck. Pulse barely there. How long since she stopped breathing? "Just now," Clara croaked. Dr. Myers pushed Clara aside, not roughly but firmly. He compressed Sarah's chest with both palms. Quick, hard pushes. Clara counted, 15 compressions. Then he breathed into Sarah's mouth twice. More compressions. Sarah's ribs creaked under the pressure. A horrible sound. Thomas stopped the wagon. They'd reached the fort's gates. Soldiers ran out with a stretcher. "Not yet," Dr. Myers snapped. "Can't move her until—" Sarah gasped, wet, choking. Blood bubbled from her mouth, but her chest rose, fell, rose again. Now. Dr. Myers jumped down. "Surgery room immediately." They carried Sarah inside. Clara tried to follow, but a soldier blocked her. "Doctor needs space to work, miss." Jack appeared, steadied Clara with a hand on her shoulder. "He's the best surgeon in 3 territories. Learned in the war." Clara's legs trembled. She sat hard on a wooden bench outside the surgery room. Thomas slumped beside her, skin gray from exertion. "You need medicine too," Clara said, voice like grinding sand. "I'm fine." But Thomas's hands shook as he wiped sweat from his forehead. Jack returned with an army medic, young man with gentle hands. He examined Thomas, listened to his chest. "Arsenic poisoning. Partially treated," the medic said. "You're lucky. Another week and—" He didn't finish. He gave Thomas charcoal powder mixed with water. "Drink it all. Absorbs remaining poison." Thomas gagged but drank. Black liquid dribbled down his chin. Clara stood to pace, but her knees buckled. Jack caught her. "When did you last eat?" he asked. She couldn't remember. Yesterday, the day before Jack disappeared, returned with bread, dried beef, water. Clara forced herself to chew. The beef was like leather, but her stomach cramped with hunger once food hit it. Through the surgery door, she heard Dr. Myers barking orders, metal instruments clanking. Sarah hadn't screamed. "Good sign or bad, the journal," Thomas said suddenly. "What mother wrote about Samuel?" Clara had forgotten. Samuel wasn't their father's real son. His mother lived, ran off. Sarah knew. Samuel knew. Changes everything. Thomas continued. "Samuel poisoned our father for revenge. Not just money." "Doesn't excuse it," Clara said. "No, but explains it." Jack leaned against the wall. "Your brother Michael. He helped you leave. Think he knew?" Clara shook her head. "Michael was weak, not evil. He'd looked genuinely shocked about the poisoning. The surgery door opened. Dr. Myers emerged, blood on his apron. Clara shot to her feet. "Alive," he said immediately. "Bullet nicked the liver. Significant blood loss. But she's strong." Clara's legs gave out again. This time Thomas caught her. "Can we see her?" Thomas asked. "She's sedated. Laudanum for pain. Won't wake for hours." Dr. Myers pulled off bloody gloves. "You're the daughter who doesn't speak." "I speak now," Clara said. He studied her. "Fever damage to vocal cords." She nodded. "Interesting. Usually permanent. You've been practicing." 6 years of silence. Just started again today. "Go slow. Damage could worsen if you strain." He turned to Thomas. "You're the poisoned son. Getting better." Dr. Myers shook his head. "What kind of family?" "Never mind. Not my business. You can sit with her. Quietly." The surgery room smelled of blood and carbolic acid. Sarah lay on a narrow table, covered with a clean sheet. Her face was white as paper, but her chest rose steadily. Clara took her mother's hand, still warm, pulse visible in her wrist. "She left to save us," Thomas said. "From Samuel." "She left us with Samuel," Clara corrected, "because she thought we'd be safer if he didn't see us as threats." Clara wanted to argue, but her throat hurt. She touched it gingerly, swollen on the outside now, too. Jack entered. "Sheriff Thompson's here. Needs your statement about Briggs." Clara looked at Sarah. Didn't want to leave. "I'll watch her," Thomas said. The sheriff waited in Dr. Myers' office. Thick mustache, patient eyes, paper and ink ready. "Miss Barrett," he began, then paused. "Or do you prefer Coleman?" Clara hadn't thought about it. Barrett, she decided. It was who she'd been through everything. "Can you write what happened? Save your voice." She took the pen. Her hand trembled slightly. The ink blobbed on the paper. She wrote about discovering the poison. The marriage contract, Jack's arrival, Sarah's return, Briggs's attack, everything. The sheriff read, occasionally asking for clarification. Clara wrote more. Her hand cramped, but she continued. "This is enough to arrest Briggs," Thompson said finally. "Attempted kidnapping, assault, false imprisonment. Samuel, too. Attempted murder of Thomas." "Samuel is still at the ranch," Jack said. "Michael's watching him. We'll ride out tomorrow. Collect them both." "No." Clara's voice cracked on the word. She grabbed the paper, wrote, "Thomas needs Samuel's help. Ranch can't run without him. And Michael protected Thomas while I was gone." Thompson frowned. "Your brother tried to sell you. Poisoned." Clara held up her hand, wrote, "Prison won't fix Samuel. Let me handle this." "It's not your choice, miss. Law's the law." She wrote frantically. "Thomas nearly died from arsenic. Same poison that killed our father 7 years ago. But can you prove Samuel did either? No witnesses. No evidence except the journal of a woman who faked her death." Thompson's frown deepened. He saw the problem. Clara wrote more. "But I have leverage. Samuel needs me to sign those marriage papers to clear his debt. I won't sign. Unless what?" She wrote one word, change. Jack laughed, short and sharp. "You want to reform Samuel Barrett." Clara shook her head, wrote, "Not reform, just redirect. He's broken. But maybe broken things can still be useful." Thompson stood. "I'll give you 1 week. Then I'm arresting him regardless." After he left, Clara slumped in the chair. Her throat throbbed. Her hand ached. Everything hurt. "That's insane," Jack said. "Samuel tried to kill Thomas." Clara looked at him, opened her mouth, but only a wheeze emerged. She'd used up her voice for now. She wrote, Samuel thought he was alone. No real family. No father who claimed him. Maybe knowing the truth. Maybe he'll try harder to kill you all. Jack finished. She shook her head. Wrote, Did you see his face when I spoke? He was shocked. Maybe even proud, like I was finally real. Not just the silent burden. Jack sat beside her. Your mother hired me to get you away from him. Clara wrote, She also abandoned me with him. To protect you. Did it work? Jack had no answer for that. Thomas appeared in the doorway. Mother's awake. Asking for you. Clara rushed back. Sarah's eyes were open, unfocused from laudanum but aware. Clara, she whispered. My brave girl. Clara squeezed her hand. Tried to speak but couldn't. Don't, Sarah said. Save your voice. I have things to say. She breathed carefully. Each word an effort. Samuel's mother. Her name was Margaret Thornton. Clara froze. Thornton. She looked at Jack. He'd gone rigid. What did you say? Margaret Thornton. Sarah repeated. Ran off when Samuel was 3. William claimed she died, but she went back to her family in Missouri. The Thorntons of Missouri, Jack said slowly. My family. Clara stared at him. Wrote frantically, You're related to Samuel. Jack shook his head, then stopped. My uncle's first wife. Disappeared 30 years ago. Family never talked about her. Said she died in childbirth. Sarah coughed, specks of blood on her lips. Not dead. Living in St. Louis, last I heard. Samuel doesn't know she's alive. But you do, Jack said. I hired investigators. After William died, wanted to understand Samuel's anger. Clara wrote, Does she know about Samuel? No. She thinks her baby died with William. He told everyone that. Married me within a year. Thomas had been silent, processing. Now he said, So Samuel's not even our half-brother. He's nothing to us. He's your brother, Sarah said firmly. Blood doesn't make family. Time does. Shared pain does. Clara thought of 6 years of silence. Samuel's fists. Michael's fearful eyes. Thomas's poisoned drinks. Was that family? Then she thought of Michael teaching himself sign language in secret. Thomas trying to protect her even while dying. Samuel's face when she spoke her name. She wrote, We go back. All of us. Face this together. Clara. No, Sarah said. You're free now. Clara shook her head, pointed at Thomas, still pale from poison, at Sarah, barely alive, at herself, throat swollen and voice nearly gone, wrote, None of us are free until we face what happened. Jack crossed his arms. If Samuel is my cousin, God. This changes things. How? Thomas asked. I was hired to arrest him, but family. Jack trailed off. Clara wrote quickly, You could help him instead. Margaret, your aunt. She might want to know her son lives. A son who murders people, Jack said. Who was abandoned and lied to his whole life. Thomas countered. Sarah tried to sit up, gasped in pain. Clara eased her back down. Rest, Clara managed to whisper. No. Listen. There's more. Sarah gripped Clara's hand. The ranch. Your father left it to you. Clara's hand stilled on the paper. Not to Samuel. To you. His only legitimate child. I have the will. Hidden in the journal's binding. Clara carefully opened the journal's back cover. A thin document, folded tight. William Barrett's will, witnessed and legal. Everything to my daughter Clara Marie Barrett. Not to his sons. Not to Samuel who'd killed for it. To the silent girl he'd barely noticed, Clara looked at the will, at Thomas, at Jack, at her dying mother. Power, She held power over all of them now. She wrote slowly, "We go back tomorrow. Thomas needs his medicine routine. Samuel needs to know the truth. The ranch needs running." "And you?" Jack asked. "What do you need?" Clara touched her throat, thought of 6 years without voice, of the words now fighting to emerge. She wrote, "I need to speak, to Samuel, to Michael, to the sheriff, to everyone who thought I was broken. Your voice." Dr. Myers had entered. "You shouldn't strain it." Clara stood, faced them all, forced air through her swollen throat. "My voice. My choice." Each word scraped like glass, but they came. They were hers. Dr. Myers checked Sarah's bandages. "She can't travel for a week, minimum." "Then I go alone," Clara whispered. "No," Thomas said. "We go, you and me." "And me," Jack added. "Someone needs to keep you both alive." Clara looked at Sarah. Her mother nodded slightly. "The ranch is yours," Sarah said. "Decide its fate." Clara already knew. She'd known since seeing the will. The ranch would never be the same. Couldn't be. Too much blood in that soil. But maybe something new could grow there. She wrote her decision. "We leave at dawn. Take medicine for Thomas. The will. The journal." "And then?" Jack asked. Clara looked at him. At Thomas. At her mother. Opened her mouth. No sound came. Her voice was gone again. Used up. But Thomas understood. He spoke for her. "Then we tell Samuel who he really is. That his mother lives. That father lied to everyone." Clara nodded. Wrote one more line. "And we find out if truth can stop a killer or create one." Jack's face changed. "Clara, if Samuel learns his mother abandoned him, didn't die, he might—" The door burst open. A soldier, breathless. "Mr. Thornton telegraphed from the Barrett Ranch." Jack grabbed the paper. "Read." His face went white. "What?" Thomas demanded. Jack handed Clara the telegraph. Her eyes scanned the brief message Samuel escaped. Michael dead. Ranch burning. Briggs took everything. Come now. The paper slipped from Clara's numb fingers. Michael. Quiet. Frightened Michael, who'd learned sign language for her. Dead. Clara stared at the telegraph paper. The words blurred, reformed, blurred again. Michael dead. Thomas grabbed the paper, read it twice. His jaw clenched, unclenched. A vein pulsed in his temple. "Who sent this?" Jack asked the soldier. "Station master at Willow Creek, 5 miles from the Barrett Ranch." Clara's fingers moved to sign but stopped. Who would see? Who would understand? She grabbed paper, wrote, "When?" 3 hours ago, miss. 3 hours. While she sat here, Michael was no. She wouldn't think it. Couldn't. Thomas stood, swayed, caught himself on the chair. "We go now." "You can barely walk," Jack said. "I ride." Thomas's voice had gone flat. "My brother is dead." Clara wrote, "Maybe not dead. Maybe." Thomas crushed the paper. "Stop. You know Samuel. You know what he does." Dr. Myers stepped forward. "Neither of you is fit to travel." "Thomas, you're still processing poison." "Clara, your throat needs—" Clara stood, walked past him, out the door, down the hall. Her legs moved without thought. Behind her, voices called. She didn't turn. The stable smelled of hay and horse sweat. She grabbed a saddle from the wall. Heavy. Her arm shook, lifting it. Jack's hand covered hers. "Clara, wait." She jerked away, hefted the saddle onto a bay mare. The horse shifted, sensing distress. "You can't help Michael if you're dead," Jack said. Clara's hands fumbled with the buckles. Jack didn't understand. Michael had tried to protect her. Weak. Frightened Michael who'd slipped her food when Samuel withheld it, who'd learned her language in secret. Thomas appeared, medical bag in hand. "I took supplies, bandages, medicine." He looked steadier, determined. The gray undertone to his skin remained, but his hands didn't shake. Clara pointed at him, then at the fort. "Stay here safe." "No." Thomas grabbed another saddle. "Michael is my brother, too." Was his brother? But neither said it. Jack saddled his own horse. "Sheriff Thompson's gathering men. They'll follow in an hour." Clara didn't want to wait. Every minute meant fire spreading, evidence burning, Michael lying somewhere. She mounted the bay mare. Pain shot through her throat as she tried to speak. Nothing came out. Her voice was gone completely now. They rode hard. The moon had set, leaving only stars. Clara navigated by memory and instinct. The familiar trail she'd ridden that night with Jack, was it only yesterday time had become elastic, meaningless? 4 miles out, they smelled smoke, thick, acrid, wood, and something else. Something that made Clara's stomach turn. The ranch appeared over the ridge, or what remained. The barn was gone, collapsed into glowing embers. The house still stood, but flames licked through the roof. Orange light danced across the yard. No sign of people. No bodies. They dismounted at the gate. Clara's boots crunched on scorched grass. Heat radiated from the ruins, drying her eyes. Thomas ran toward the house. Clara tried to call out, warn him, but no sound emerged. Jack caught Thomas's arm, pulled him back. "Could collapse any second," Jack said. Clara circled the barn's remains. The heat forced her back, but she saw enough. No bones in the ashes, no bodies. A dark stain on the ground near the well. She knelt, touched it. Still wet. Blood. A lot of blood. Drag marks led from the stain toward the root cellar. Clara followed them. The cellar doors hung open. She descended into darkness. The smell hit first. Blood and urine and fear. Her eyes adjusted slowly. A shape in the corner, moving slightly. Michael. Clara rushed to him. Alive. Breathing, but barely. His shirt was soaked red from a wound in his side. Knife, not bullet. His eyes fluttered open, unfocused. Clara pressed her hands against the wound. Hot blood seeped between her fingers. Michael's mouth moved. No sound or none she could hear over the pounding in her ears. She tried to call for help. Her throat produced only a wheeze. She stomped on the floor, hard, rhythmic. "Come, come, come!" Jack's face appeared at the cellar opening. "Jesus." He descended quickly, medical bag in hand. "Get Thomas," Jack said, then saw Clara couldn't speak. He ran back up. Michael's hand found Clara's. Weak, cold. He tried to sign, but his fingers wouldn't cooperate. Thomas stumbled down the ladder, fell the last 2 rungs. He crawled to Michael, pressed cloth against the wound. "Who did this?" Thomas asked. Michael's lips moved. Clara read them. "Samuel." Thomas's face contorted. "Our brother stabbed you." Michael nodded slightly. More lip movement. "Wouldn't tell." "Where Clara went?" Clara's vision blurred. Michael had protected her location, took a knife for it. Jack worked on the wound, packing it with cloth. Needs proper stitching. Soon. They carried Michael up, laid him in the back of a wagon that had survived behind the chicken coop. Thomas stayed with him, keeping pressure on the wound. Clara searched for Samuel. Boot prints led from the cellar toward the road. Fresh. Maybe an hour old. He'd watched his house burn, left his brother to die, and walked away. No, run away. The tracks showed long strides, running from what he'd done. Jack studied the tracks. He went north, toward the mountains. Clara knew where. The old mine shaft. Samuel used to hide there as a boy when father beat him. She'd followed once, seen him crying in the darkness. She pointed north, then at herself. I'll go. Not alone, Jack said. Thomas looked up from Michael. We need to get him to Dr. Myers. Clara pointed at Jack and Thomas, then at Michael, then toward Fort Laramie. Made a carrying motion. You take him. And you? Jack asked. She pointed north again. Drew an S in the dirt with her boot. You can't face Samuel alone. You can't even speak. Clara pulled the will from her pocket, pointed at her name, then at the ruins of the ranch. Mine. My choice. Jack grabbed her shoulders. He tried to kill Michael. He'll kill you. Clara shook her head, pulled out the journal, opened to the page about Samuel's mother, showed Jack. You think showing him this will stop him? Jack's voice rose. Clara, he's past reasoning. Maybe. But she had to try. For Michael bleeding in the wagon, for Thomas still poisoned, for 6 years of silence, she mounted the bay mare. Jack stepped in front of the horse. Then I'm coming. Clara shook her head hard, pointed at Michael. He'd die without help. Thomas can drive the wagon, Jack said. No. Thomas's voice was firm. Clara's right. Michael needs you to ride ahead. Get Dr. Myers ready. I can barely stay conscious. You're faster alone. Jack looked between them, torn. Michael's breathing went ragged. Blood had soaked through the new bandages. Time was running out. Clara made the sign for please. The first sign her mother had taught her, all those years ago. Jack stepped aside. The sheriff will be here within the hour. Wait for backup. Clara nodded, knowing she lied. She couldn't wait. Samuel was running, and wounded animals were most dangerous when cornered. She rode toward the mountains. Behind her, the wagon wheels creaked as Jack and Thomas rushed Michael toward help. The house collapsed with a roar, sending sparks into the sky. The trail to the mine was overgrown but visible. Her horse picked its way carefully up the rocky slope. Dawn was breaking, painting the mountains purple-gray. She found his horse first, tied to a dead tree, foam dried on its flanks, ridden hard. She dismounted, tied her mare beside it. The mine entrance was a black mouth in the mountainside. No sound from within, but fresh boot prints led inside. Clara picked up a thick branch, wrapped the end with torn fabric from her skirt. No matches. She'd have to go in blind. No, not blind. She knew this mine, had explored it once while Samuel was in town. 40 feet straight, then a larger chamber. One entrance, one exit. She stepped into darkness. Cool air. Smell of rust and old water. Her boots echoed on stone. 20 feet, 30. Her eyes began to adjust. Faint light ahead, a lantern. Samuel sat against the far wall of the chamber. The knife that had stabbed Michael lay beside him. Blood on the blade. Blood on his hands. He looked up. His face was wet. Tears or sweat. She couldn't tell. Come to gloat. His voice echoed off stone. The mute girl who owns everything. Clara stepped closer. The journal was in her pocket, but she didn't reach for it yet. I know about the will, Samuel continued. Michael told me, right before I... He looked at the knife. Clara's throat burned. She forced air through it. A whisper emerged. Why? Samuel laughed. Ugly sound. Why you were supposed to be married to Briggs. Thomas was supposed to die. The ranch was supposed to be mine. Instead, you can speak. Mother's alive. And I'm not even... He stopped. Stared at her. Not even what... Clara whispered. Michael told me. As he bled. Said Mother left papers. Said I'm not Father's real son. Clara's hand went to the journal. So Michael had known. Had read it while she was gone. My mother was a whore, Samuel said. Ran off. Left me with a man who hated me for existing. Clara pulled out the journal, stepped closer. Samuel didn't move. She opened to the page about Margaret Thornton, held it where lamplight caught it. Samuel read. His face changed confusion, recognition, rage. She's alive. His voice broke. My mother is alive. Clara nodded, whispered, in St. Louis. Samuel grabbed the journal, read frantically. She thinks I died. Father told her I died. He looked up. She didn't abandon me. Another nod. Samuel's hands shook. All these years, Father beat me. Said I had bad blood. Said my mother was trash, but she thought I was dead. Clara risked another step closer. Jack Thornton. Your cousin. Samuel's eyes widened. The bounty hunter is my family. She nodded. Samuel looked at the knife, at his bloody hands, at Clara. Michael, he said. Is he? Clara didn't know. Maybe dead by now. Maybe alive. She shrugged. I didn't mean to stab him. Samuel's voice went young, lost. He wouldn't tell me where you went. Said I'd hurt you. Like I hurt Thomas. Like I hurt Father. Clara knelt beside him. Dangerous, but necessary. She took the journal, found a blank page, pulled charcoal from her pocket, wrote you were hurt first. Samuel read it, laughed bitterly. That excuses nothing. She wrote no, but explains it. I poisoned our father. The words fell like stones. Watched him die slowly. Thought it would make me feel complete. It didn't. Clara wrote Thomas. I couldn't watch another person have what I never did. Father's love. The ranch. A future. Samuel's voice cracked. So I poisoned him too. Slowly. So I could pretend I wasn't doing it. She wrote, you can stop. Can I stabbed Michael, my own brother, burned our home. Clara touched her throat, forced out, not your brother. Samuel looked at her sharply. What? She opened to another page in the journal. Sarah's notes about the real family connections. How William had no sons, only Clara. How Samuel was alone, always had been. Samuel read again. His face went blank. So I killed him for nothing. The ranch was never mine to inherit. Clara wrote, it's mine now. Going to turn me in? She shook her head, wrote, going to give you a choice. Samuel waited. She wrote carefully, go to your real mother. Tell her you're alive. Start over. Or stay. Face trial. Hang for murder. That's not a choice. Clara stood, gestured at the mine, the knife, his bloody hands. This was also a choice. He could end it here, alone in the dark. Samuel understood. You let me run after everything. She wrote, Michael protected me. Thomas needs medicine. Mother needs healing. You need your real family. Jack will hunt me. Clara shook her head. Wrote, Jack needs family too. Lost his parents, his sister. Finding you might heal him. Samuel stood slowly, like an old man. I don't deserve. Clara slapped him, hard. Her palm stung. Samuel's head rocked back. She wrote furiously, nobody deserves anything. We just choose. Choose better. Samuel touched his reddening cheek. You hit me. She wrote, you had it coming. A laugh, small, surprised. Yes. Boot steps echoed from the mine entrance. Multiple people. The sheriff had arrived. Samuel looked at the entrance, then at Clara. They'll arrest me. Clara grabbed his shirt, pulled him deeper into the mine. There, a crevice in the wall. Barely wide enough for a man. She pointed. Go. It might not lead anywhere. She shrugged. Wrote, neither might prison. Samuel squeezed into the crevice, turned sideways, began inching through. He stopped, looked back. Tell Michael. He stopped. Tell him, I'm sorry. Tell Thomas, too. Clara nodded. And Clara? Samuel's voice echoed strangely in the narrow space. Thank you for seeing me as more than a monster. She wrote quickly, held it up. Don't prove me wrong. He disappeared into darkness. Sheriff Thompson entered the chamber, 3 deputies behind him. Miss Barrett, you hurt. Clara shook her head, pointed at the bloody knife, then deeper into the mine. Let them think Samuel went that way. We'll search every tunnel, Thompson said. You should go. Your mother's asking for you. Clara walked out into morning sun. The mountains stretched endlessly north. Somewhere in them, a crevice might lead to another exit, might lead to freedom, might lead nowhere. She mounted her horse, looked back once at the mine. A figure emerged from rocks a quarter-mile up Samuel, climbing toward the ridge. He'd found another way out. He paused, looked down at her, raised one hand, then vanished over the ridge. Clara rode back toward Fort Laramie, toward Michael, who might be dying, Thomas, who was healing, Mother, who'd returned from the dead, toward the ruins of the ranch she now owned, the ranch where she'd been silent for 6 years, where she'd found her voice by losing it, where everything had burned so something new could grow. But what would she grow there, and who would help her grow it? The answer came as she crested the hill and saw Jack riding toward her, face grim. Clara, he called. It's Michael. You need to hurry. Her throat clenched. She kicked the mare into a gallop. Michael was alive or dead. Samuel was free or trapped. The ranch was ash or opportunity. Everything balanced on the edge of next moments, next words, next choices. But as she rode toward whatever news Jack carried, Clara felt something shift in her damaged throat. A loosening, a possibility. She opened her mouth, drew breath, and for the first time in 6 years, screamed. Not words, just sound, raw and terrible and absolutely her own. The scream echoed off the mountains, through the valleys, across the burned land. It sounded like ending. It sounded like beginning. It sounded like choice. Jack's horse was lathered with sweat. Foam dripped from its mouth onto the dirt road. Michael's alive, Jack said as Clara pulled alongside. Barely. Lost too much blood. Clara's mare matched his pace. Her throat burned from the scream, but she forced out, How long? Dr. Myers doesn't know. Hours, maybe less. They thundered through Fort Laramie's gates. Soldiers scattered. Clara dismounted before the horse fully stopped, stumbled, caught herself against the hitching post. The surgery room door stood open. She ran through. Michael lay on the table, skin the color of old wax. Dr. Myers bent over him, suturing. Blood covered the doctor's arms to the elbows. Thomas sat in the corner, head in hands. Out, Dr. Myers said without looking up. All of you. Clara didn't move. Michael's chest barely rose. The wound gaped despite multiple rows of stitches. The blade went deep. Dr. Myers continued working. Nick the intestine. I've cleaned what I can, but if infection sets... Michael's eyes opened. Found Clara. His mouth moved. She stepped closer. Dr. Myers tried to block her, but she pushed past. Michael's lips formed words she couldn't hear. She leaned down, ear near his mouth. Samuel. Barely a breath. Clara touched Michael's hand. His fingers were ice. She squeezed gently. He squeezed back, weak, but present. Gone, she whispered. Michael's eyes asked the question. North. To find his mother. Something shifted in Michael's face. Relief. His eyes closed again. Dr. Myers pushed Clara back. He needs quiet. Body's shutting down to heal. Clara wrote on paper, will he live? If he survives the next 6 hours, maybe. If infection doesn't set in, possibly. If his organs don't fail. Dr. Myers didn't finish. Thomas stood, swayed. Jack caught his arm. You need rest, too, Dr. Myers said. The arsenic is still. I'm fine. Thomas pulled free. Clara, we need to talk. About the ranch. They went to the hallway. Clara leaned against the wall, legs shaking. When had she last slept, time had become meaningless. It's gone, Thomas said. House, barn, everything. I checked while you were in the mine. Clara nodded. She'd seen the flames. But the land's still there. The well's intact. We could rebuild. We. Clara noticed the word, wrote, with what money? Insurance. Jack said, Your father had policies. I found the papers in town when researching Samuel. Clara stared at him. Insurance money from buildings Samuel burned. Money that existed because their father died murdered by the son he never claimed. There's more, Jack continued. Briggs fled the territory. The sheriff seized his ranch for debt. It's being auctioned. With the insurance money. Clara understood. Buy Briggs's land. Combine the ranches. Start over. She wrote, That's what father would have done. You're not your father, Thomas said. No, she wasn't. William Barrett had built his ranch on lies, abuse, isolation. She wouldn't repeat his pattern. Sheriff Thompson appeared at the hallway's end. Miss Barrett, we need your testimony. Clara touched her throat, still swollen, speaking hurt, but she nodded. The courthouse was a single room with pine benches and a raised platform for the judge, empty except for the court clerk, an elderly man with ink-stained fingers. Judge Hammond's on his way, Thompson said. Should arrive within the hour. Clara sat on a hard bench. Exhaustion pulled at her bones. Jack sat beside her. Thomas on her other side. They waited. People began arriving. First, the newspaper man from town, notebook ready, then shopkeepers, curious about the Barrett Ranch fire, then Martha, the deaf girl from the way station, with her mother, Mrs. Henderson. Martha signed, Heard you were here, came to help. Help Clara didn't understand until more people entered, all signing, a dozen, then 20, the deaf community from surrounding towns, brought by telegraph messages. An older woman approached, hands moving fluidly. You're Clara, the one who found her voice. Clara nodded, signed, still learning to use it. We heard what happened. Your brother attacking you. The fire. We came to support. Clara's eyes burned. She'd been alone for so long, she'd forgotten what community felt like. Judge Hammond entered tall, silver-bearded, carrying law books. He took his seat, banged his gavel. The sound vibrated through the floorboards. This hearing concerns the events at the Barrett Ranch. Miss Barrett, please take the stand. Clara stood, walked to the witness chair. Her legs felt disconnected from her body. The bailiff held out a Bible. Do you swear to tell the truth? Clara placed her hand on the worn leather, nodded, tried to speak. Only a rasp emerged. She can write her testimony, the judge said. Clara shook her head. She had things to say. Needed to say them aloud. She swallowed, tasted copper. I swear. Please describe the events of 3 nights ago, Clara began. Each word scraped her throat raw. She told about finding the poison, Samuel's debt, the marriage contract. Her voice cracked, reformed, cracked again. Slower, the judge said. We have time. She continued. Jack's arrival, her mother's return, Briggs's attack. Some words wouldn't come. She had to spell them with her fingers, Martha translating for the court. Where is Samuel Barrett now? The judge asked. Clara hesitated. The truth would send searchers after him. A lie would be perjury. Gone, she managed. Dead. She shook her head. Then where? Clara wrote on the paper provided, "I don't know." True enough. She didn't know if he'd made it over the mountain, didn't know if he'd find his mother, didn't know if he'd survive his own guilt. And Michael Barrett, dying. The word came clear, too clear. The judge reviewed papers. There's the matter of ownership, the Barrett Ranch. Clara pulled out her father's will, handed it to the bailiff. Judge Hammond read it. Read it again. This is legitimate, witnessed properly. The ranch is yours. Miss Barrett. Burned, Clara said. The land remains. Valuable land. From what I understand, water rights. Grazing acres. Clara stood. Her throat had loosened slightly. The words came easier, though still rough. I want to build something new. What kind of something? She looked at the deaf community filling the benches. At Martha. At Thomas, still pale from poison. At the empty space where Michael should be. A school. Murmurs through the courtroom. The judge raised his hand for silence. A school. Clara nodded, forced more words. For deaf children and hearing children together. That's highly unusual. Martha stood, signed rapidly. Her mother translated. My daughter says such schools exist back east. Very successful. Deaf and hearing learning together. The judge considered. You'd need teachers, funds, buildings. Clara wrote, insurance money from the fire, Briggs's ranch at auction, combined resources. And teachers. She pointed at herself. Then at Martha, then at the group of deaf adults. You can barely speak, Mama, the judge noted. Clara signed, speech is not the only language. Martha translated. The judge set down his gavel. This is irregular, but... He looked at the assembled crowd. The territory needs schools. If you can fund it, build it. Staff it. I see no legal impediment. Clara sat back down. Her vision grayed at the edges. Jack caught her elbow. Furthermore, the judge continued, regarding Walter Briggs, he's fled jurisdiction. His debts stand. His property will be auctioned tomorrow noon. Highest bidder. The bailiff approached Clara with more papers. Miss, there's another matter. Your mother, Sarah Coleman, she's asked to see the judge. Clara looked up sharply. Sarah could barely survive surgery. How could she? The doors opened. Sarah entered in a wheelchair, pushed by Dr. Myers. Bandages wrapped her torso. Her face was ghost pale, but her eyes were clear. Your Honor, Sarah said, voice stronger than Clara expected. I have testimony regarding Samuel Barrett. The judge frowned. You should be in bed, madam. I'll be in bed soon enough. Dead or healing. But this needs saying. Dr. Myers wheeled her to the witness area. Sarah raised her hand for the oath. Recited it clearly. Samuel Barrett is not William's biological son, she began. The courtroom went silent. His mother was Margaret Thornton. She's alive in St. Louis. William lied to everyone, including Samuel. This is relevant, how? The judge asked. Because Samuel poisoned William believing he'd inherit. But he was never eligible. William knew this. Let Samuel believe a lie his whole life. You're saying William Barrett deliberately tortured him? Yes. Beat a boy for having bad blood while knowing that boy wasn't his. Promised him inheritance while knowing it was impossible. The judge absorbed this. And you knew. I suspected. Found proof after William died. But I was dead myself by then. Why didn't you report the poisoning? Sarah looked at Clara. Because I had a daughter to protect. Samuel threatened her if I spoke up, so I disappeared instead. Leaving your children with a murderer? Yes. Sarah's voice didn't waver. My greatest shame. But also Clara survived. Thomas survived. Even Michael survived. Until... She stopped. Samuel stabbed Michael Barrett last night. The judge said. Nearly killed him. After learning the truth about his parentage, after years of believing he was William's son, the truth broke something already cracked. Clara stood again. Her voice came stronger now, fed by anger. Stop! Defending him. Sarah turned to her. I'm not defending. I'm explaining. There's a difference. He chose violence. Yes, and you chose silence. Sarah's eyes bored into Clara's. For 6 years, you could have exposed him. Didn't. Why? Clara's throat closed. Not from damage, from memory. The judge leaned forward. Miss Barrett, why didn't you report the poisoning you witnessed? The courtroom waited. Clara felt all their eyes, the judge, the townspeople, the deaf community. Martha signed, tell them. Clara's hands rose. She signed while forcing words through her raw throat. Because I wasn't really silent. Confusion rippled through the room. Explain, the judge ordered. Clara walked to the center of the room, faced everyone, drew the deepest breath her damaged throat allowed. 2 years ago, my voice started returning. Slowly, partially. I could whisper, could manage simple words. Gasps. Thomas stood up, staring at her. But I chose to stay silent, because Thomas was losing his hearing. Thomas's hand went to his ear, the one that barely functioned now. I recognized the signs. Same progression as mother's cousin, hereditary deafness, triggered by illness or... She looked at Sarah. Poison. You knew I would go deaf, Thomas asked. Voice cracking. Clara nodded, signed and spoke together. So I prepared, learned more sign language, taught Michael secretly, created a world where you wouldn't be alone in silence. The courtroom had gone completely still. I stayed silent, Clara continued, to be your bridge, when you needed one. Thomas sat down hard. Martha was crying. Even the judge cleared his throat. But Samuel, the judge began, didn't know Thomas was going deaf, just kept poisoning him. If I'd spoken, exposed the poison, Samuel would have found another way, quiet ways. Instead, I watched, documented, waited. She pulled out a small notebook from her pocket, her own journal, hidden all these years. Every dose, every symptom, every cruelty, 6 years of evidence. She handed it to the judge. He opened it, read, his face hardened. This is comprehensive. I thought if I gathered enough proof, I could stop him without violence. But then Jack arrived, Mother returned, everything accelerated. You could have spoken any time these past 2 years. Yes. Why didn't you? Clara looked at the deaf community, at Martha, at her mother, at Thomas. Because silence was my language, is my language. I choose when to use it, when to break it. She turned to the judge. Samuel will never return. He's gone to find his real mother. Let him go. He's been punished enough. He attempted murder, multiple times. And he's lost everything, family, home, identity. Isn't that justice? The judge closed the notebook. That's for the law to decide. The law that protected my father while he beat Samuel. That would have enforced my marriage to Briggs. That law. Silence. Finally, the judge spoke. Samuel Barrett is hereby charged in absentia with attempted murder, arson, and assault. Should he return to the territory, he'll be arrested immediately. He paused. However, no resources will be allocated to pursuing him outside jurisdiction. Clara exhaled. It was enough. Court is adjourned. The gavel banged. People rose, talking excitedly. The deaf community surrounded Clara, hands flying with questions and congratulations. But Clara pushed through them, moving towards Sarah. Her mother had slumped in the wheelchair, skin gray. "Mother!" Sarah's eyes opened. "Did what I came to do. Told the truth." Dr. Myers checked her pulse. "Back to bed. Now." As they wheeled Sarah out, she caught Clara's hand. "The school. Build it. Make something good from all this pain." Clara squeezed back, nodded. Thomas approached slowly. 2 years. You could speak for 2 years." Clara nodded. "For me, you stayed silent for me." She touched his face gently, signed, "For us, for family." Thomas pulled her into a fierce hug. She felt him sobbing against her shoulder. Jack stood apart, watching. When Thomas released her, Jack said quietly, "Samuel's my cousin." "Yes. If he contacts his mother, she'll contact her family. Me? Yes. You planned this. Letting him go, knowing I'd eventually find him." Clara met his eyes, nodded. "Why?" She signed slowly, speaking the words roughly. "Because hate cycles forever. Unless someone chooses to break it." A commotion at the door. The bailiff ran in. "Dr. Myers needs you. It's Michael." Clara's heart stopped. Started. Raced. She ran. The surgery room door stood open. Michael was convulsing on the table. Dr. Myers and 2 assistants held him down. Foam tinged with blood frothed from his mouth. "Infection," Dr. Myers said tersely. "It's in his blood. Spreading." Clara approached, but the doctor waved her back. "Nothing you can do." Michael's back arched. The stitches in his side tore. Fresh blood poured out. Then, suddenly, he went still. Completely still. Dr. Myers felt for a pulse. Felt again. Started chest compressions. Clara couldn't breathe. Couldn't move. This was her fault. If she'd spoken earlier. Stopped Samuel sooner. Michael gasped. Eyes shot open. He looked directly at Clara. His mouth moved. She read her name on his lips. Then his eyes rolled back. The seizure resumed, worse than before. Michael's body went rigid. The table shook beneath him. Dr. Myers grabbed a leather strap, forced it between Michael's teeth before he bit through his tongue. "Hold him!" Dr. Myers barked. Clara grabbed Michael's shoulders. His muscles were steel cables under skin, vibrating with unnatural tension. Thomas took his legs. Jack held his head steady. The seizure lasted 40 seconds, 60, 90, then nothing. Michael went limp, no breath, no pulse. Dr. Myers started compressions again. "Come on, boy." Clara watched Michael's face. Gray-white, lips blue, gone. "Stop," she whispered. Dr. Myers didn't hear or ignored her. Kept pumping Michael's chest. Ribs creaked. "Stop." Louder. The doctor continued. Sweat dripped from his nose onto Michael's still chest. Clara grabbed Dr. Myers' wrists. "He's gone." Dr. Myers jerked free, resumed compressions. "Not yet." "Look at him." The doctor paused. Looked. Michael's eyes had fixed. Pupils blown wide. No response to light. Blood had pooled in his lower extremities, creating dark purple patches. Dr. Myers stepped back. Time of death. Michael's chest moved. Not a breath. Something else. Movement from inside. His mouth opened. A whisper of air escaped. Then words. So quiet Clara had to lean close. "Tell Samuel, I forgive." His eyes focused on Clara for one heartbeat. Clear. Present. Then the light went out. This time, it didn't return. Dr. Myers felt for pulse once more. Nothing. He pulled a sheet over Michael's face. "I'm sorry," he said. The infection was too severe. Clara stared at the covered form. Michael, who'd learned sign language for her, who'd protected her, who'd died forgiving the brother who'd stabbed him. Thomas made a sound not quite sob, not quite scream. He punched the wall. Knuckles split. Blood smeared the whitewash. "Thomas," Jack said. Thomas punched again, and again, until Jack pulled him away, Thomas fighting him, both men grappling until Thomas collapsed against Jack's chest, shaking. Clara remained still, watching the sheet, waiting for it to move. It didn't. She pulled the sheet back. Michael's face was peaceful, younger than his 24 years. The fear that had lived in his eyes was gone. She kissed his forehead, cold already. "We'll bury him on the ranch," she said. Her voice came clear. The seizure, the death, something had broken loose in her throat, or perhaps in her heart. "Clara," Dr. Myers said, "your mother's asking for you." Sarah lay propped in bed, awake but fading. The bandages around her torso showed fresh red. "Michael," she asked. Clara shook her head. Sarah closed her eyes. "Another son lost to this family's poison." "Not your son." "I raised him. For a while. That counts." Sarah's hand found Clara's. "The school. You're still building it." "Yes." "Good." Michael would have, Sarah coughed, pink foam on her lips, would have liked that. Dr. Myers appeared with medicine. Sarah waved him away. "No more. Let me speak clearly for whatever time's left. Mother, listen. The auction is tomorrow. Briggs's ranch. You need to bid." "With what money?" Sarah pointed to her bag in the corner. "Inside. Bank draft. 20,000. Clara stared. "How?" 6 years in California. I worked, saved, every penny for you." Clara retrieved the bag. Inside, wrapped in oilcloth, the bank draft, also property deeds, investment papers, proof of accounts. "You're wealthy," Clara said, stunned. "We're wealthy." "It's all yours." Sarah gripped Clara's hand harder. "Build the school. Hire real teachers. Make it last. You'll see it. You'll help." "No." Sarah's voice was firm. "The bullet nicked more than liver. Kidneys are failing. Myers told me. Hours. Maybe a day." Clara's throat closed. Not from damage. From grief. "Don't," Sarah said. "We had 6 years apart and 3 days together. More than I deserved. You saved us. You saved yourself. I just witnessed it." Thomas entered, knuckles bandaged. "They're ready. For Michael." The burial was at sunset. They'd chosen a hill overlooking the burned ranch. Clara, Thomas, Jack, and a few townspeople. The deaf community came too, standing silent witness. No preacher. Clara spoke instead, her voice growing stronger with each word. Michael Barrett was quiet, but quiet is not weak. He protected others with his silence, loved with it, died with forgiveness on his lips. She nodded to Martha, who translated into sign language. "We bury him overlooking land that will become a school, where deaf and hearing children will learn together, where silence and speech will have equal value." Thomas shoveled the first earth. Then Clara. Then everyone, taking turns until the grave was filled. As they walked back, Jack said, "The auction's at noon tomorrow." "I know. There'll be other bidders. Cattle companies from Denver." "Let them come." That night, Clara sat with Sarah. Her mother's breathing had gone shallow, irregular, sometimes stopping for long seconds. "Clara," Sarah whispered, "one more thing." Clara leaned close. "Samuel's mother, Margaret. I wrote to her." Clara pulled back. "When?" Yesterday. Posted it before court. Told her Samuel's alive. Told her everything. She'll come looking. Yes. Be ready. Sarah's eyes closed. Her breathing stopped. Started. Stopped longer. Clara held her hand. Signed with her free hand, I love you. Sarah's eyes opened slightly. Her fingers moved weakly, forming the sign, love you. Then stillness. Clara sat with her mother's body until dawn. When the sun rose, she closed Sarah's eyes, covered her, and walked to the auction. The courthouse steps were crowded. Ranchers, speculators, curious townspeople. The auctioneer, a fat man with mutton chops, stood on a box. Briggs Ranch, he bellowed. 4,000 acres. Water rights. Starting bid 5,000. 5,000. A man in a Denver suit. 6. Another speculator. Clara waited. The bidding climbed. 7,000. 8. 9. At 12,000. Only 2 bidders remained, the Denver man and a cattle company representative. 13,000. Denver. 14 Uncattle Company. Clara raised her hand. 20,000. Silence. Every head turned. The auctioneer squinted. Miss Barrett, you bid 20,000. She walked forward, handed him the bank draft. He examined it, eyes widening. 20,000 from Miss Barrett, going once. The Denver man, 21. Clara, 25. Gasps. The Denver man shook his head, stepped back. 25,000, going once, twice sold. Clara took the deed. 4,000 acres. Enough for a school, dormitories, farms where students could work and learn. Thomas met her outside. You spent everything. Not everything. Mother had investments. Enough to build, hire teachers, run for years. And then the students run it. Deaf and hearing together, self-sufficient. Jack approached. There's someone here, asking for Samuel. A woman stood by the courthouse door, 50-ish, graying brown hair, Samuel's same gray eyes. Margaret Thornton. You're Clara, she said. Not a question. Yes. Sarah's letter said my son lives, that he's troubled. Clara chose her words carefully. He's searching for himself, for you. Where north, maybe St. Louis, looking for Margaret Thornton. The woman's composure cracked. I'm here. He's there. We're missing each other again. He'll circle back, or Jack will find him. Margaret looked at Jack. You're my nephew James's son. Jack nodded. You'll help find him. If he wants finding. Margaret turned back to Clara. Sarah wrote what he did. The poisoning. The fire. Michael. Clara waited. Do you hate him? Clara considered. Hate requires energy I need for building. The school Sarah mentioned. Yes. I want to help. Invest. Teach. If you'll let me. Clara studied her. This woman who'd abandoned a 3-year-old Samuel, who'd believed him dead, who'd survived her own version of hell. Can you sign? No, but I learn quickly. Then yes. 5 years passed. The Barrett Coleman School for Integrated Learning stood where the ranch had burned. 3 buildings, now classrooms, dormitory, workshop. 42 students, aged 6 to 18, half deaf, half hearing, all learning together. Clara stood in the main classroom, teaching arithmetic. Her voice was strong now, though still raspy. She signed while speaking. Students responding in whichever language felt natural. If a ranch has 30 cattle and sells 12, she paused. Through the window, a rider approached. Familiar seat, familiar hat. Jack, but not alone. Another rider beside him. Clara's hands stilled. The students turned to look. Samuel. Thinner, bearded, but unmistakably Samuel. He dismounted slowly, as if unsure of his welcome. Margaret burst from the administration building. She'd been living there, waiting, for 3 years. Mother and son stood apart, just looking. Then Margaret opened her arms. Samuel stepped into them, shoulders shaking. Clara walked outside. Thomas emerged from the workshop where he taught woodworking. He'd lost most of his hearing now, but thrived in the silent world Clara had prepared for him. Samuel saw them, released his mother, walked toward them. He stopped 10 feet away. His hands rose, formed signs Clara had never seen him make. "I'm sorry. For everything. Michael. Father. The years of pain." Thomas signed back. "Michael forgave you. He said so." Samuel's face crumpled. He signed, "I don't deserve." Clara stepped forward, spoke and signed simultaneously. "No one deserves anything. We choose. You chose to return. That's enough." The sheriff. "Won't pursue if you stay peaceful. Work the land. Help the school." Samuel looked at the buildings. "You built this. We built it." Clara gestured to include everyone. "Martha teaches sign language. Margaret handles accounts. Thomas teaches trades. Jack provides security. And you. I teach children that silence and speech are equal, that everyone has a voice, whether they use it or not." A small girl ran from the classroom. Emma, 6 years old, deaf from birth. She signed rapidly at Clara. "Miss Clara, who's the sad man?" Clara knelt to Emma's level. "Someone who was lost, now found." Emma studied Samuel, then signed. "He looks like he needs soup." Clara laughed, a sound she'd thought lost forever. "Yes, he does." As they walked toward the dining hall, Samuel asked, "Why let me return?" Clara stopped, looked at the school, the children playing, the mountains beyond where Michael lay buried. "Because Michael died forgiving you, Mother died hoping for this. Thomas lost his hearing but found his voice. I found my voice but choose my silence." She turned to him. "And you, what have you found?" Samuel's hands moved slowly. "That family isn't blood. It's choice. And I choose this." Clara nodded. "Then welcome home." That evening, Clara stood on the hill beside Michael's grave. A simple stone now, Michael Barrett. Brother, protector, teacher. The sun set behind the mountains, painting the valley gold. Below, the school buzzed with dinner preparation. She heard, felt children laughing, pans clanging, life continuing. Her throat no longer hurt. She could speak clearly now, whenever she chose. But tonight, she chose silence. Not the forced silence of trauma, but the deliberate silence of peace. Martha appeared beside her, signed, "Beautiful sunset." Clara signed back, "Michael would have loved this." "He does," Martha signed. "Through us, through them." She pointed at the school, through the windows, visible in lamplight. Samuel teaching a young boy to sign, Margaret helping with homework, Thomas showing Emma how to carve wood, Jack standing guard, protecting this fragile new world. Clara touched her throat. 6 years of forced silence, 2 years of chosen silence, 3 years building this school, all leading to this moment, this choice. She opened her mouth, drew breath, and sang. Not words, just melody. The lullaby Sarah had hummed, the song that had brought back her voice carried across the valley. Students came to windows, listening. Samuel stepped outside, tears on his face. Thomas felt the vibrations through the porch boards, smiled. When the song ended, Clara signed to Martha, "Tomorrow, we add music class." Martha grinned, signed back, "Deaf music, all music. Vibrations for those who feel, sound for those who hear, both for those who choose." As darkness fell, Clara walked back to the school, her school, built on ashes, raised by outcasts, teaching that strength comes not from voice or silence, but from the choice of when to use each. Behind her, Michael's grave caught the last light. Ahead, windows glowed with possibility. She reached the door, paused, looked back once more. In the distance, barely visible, a figure on horseback, watching from the ridge. Too far to identify. Could be anyone or no one. Clara smiled, stepped inside, and closed the door. The figure remained a moment longer, then turned and rode into darkness, leaving only hoofprints and questions. But some questions don't need answers. Some stories don't need endings. Some voices don't need sound. Choice is enough. Choice is everything. 5 more years passed before I understood what we'd truly built. It wasn't the school, though 60 children now learned there. It wasn't the dormitories or the workshop or even the medical clinic Dr. Myers's successor ran. It was the morning I watched Samuel's daughter. Yes, he married Martha, signing her first words while speaking them aloud. 3 years old, raised bilingual in silence and sound. She didn't know some people considered deafness a disability. To her, it was simply another way of being. Thomas never regained his hearing, but he found something better: purpose. His furniture workshop employed 12 graduates, deaf and hearing, working side by side. They communicated through touch, gesture, and the occasional written note. The real bridge wasn't between silence and sound. It was between isolation and connection. Clara never married Jack, though he stayed. Some bonds transcend conventional definitions. They ran the school together, she as headmistress, he as protector, both guardians of something fragile and necessary. On quiet evenings, Clara would stand where the old ranch house had burned, not mourning what was lost, but acknowledging what that loss made possible. Michael's grave became a gathering place. Students left flowers. Samuel visited weekly, teaching his daughter to sign thank you to the uncle she'd never meet but who'd made her world possible. Disclaimer: this story is a work of fiction created solely for entertainment purposes. It does not condone, promote, or encourage any form of violence, abuse, poisoning, or harmful behavior depicted within its narrative. All characters and events are entirely products of the author's imagination. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, or actual events is purely coincidental. The portrayal of historical settings, disabilities, and family dynamics is fictional and should not be taken as historical fact or medical advice. Readers are encouraged to seek appropriate resources for accurate information about deaf culture, American frontier history, and trauma recovery.